Meeting to order at 7:02, and the meeting is being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. Only better by Netflix in terms of its popularity. Do we, Madam Clerk, have any apologies for that?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Apologies received from councillors Ellen Crowley and David Lister.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add that Luda's.
Do we have any declarations of interest to items pertaining to the agenda this evening? None declared. Well, do we have any public questions?
And received, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Now, the minutes of the meeting, I believe, are delinquent, in as much as they do not name the councillor Owen Jeffrey as being present. Am I right in that?
Oh, he didn't notice. Yes, I didn't notice, but yes, I do think I was there.
Well, I expected you with your normal hawk-eye attention to minutes that you would have spotted it. However,
Onward.
I flagged that up because I believe they're correct other than that, but means I can't stand it. I can ask you to agree them subject to that change.
Mr. Mayor, agreed subject to the change.
Proposed subject to change. Seconded, sir. Thank you very much. And then what I'll do is I'll come in and sign them. If we sort of sign them off this evening, I'll sign them another day when Councillor Owen Jeffrey has been added to them. I've got a proposal and second. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I'll save 20 seconds of me signing this evening. How about that? So, on to reports from myself, then the Deputy Mayor. I'm delighted to report that I have undertaken 27 engagements since the last full council meeting on the 28th of November. It was very nice to meet a number of people from Regency Park Hotel here in the chamber. And if we scroll up a little, we see them there. Very respectful of the office of the mayor and very happy to be at the event, as can be seen in the picture. And obviously there are a lot of people at the hotel, and all we can ask is that they are processed as quickly as possible and with proper speed, because they are in limbo, and the authorities in the Home Office need to be able to process those quickly as they can to whatever end course that accommodates. There were, of course, a number of excellent events in the run-up to Christmas and the seasonal holiday. We ran our traditional window display competition, had a splendid, very busy Christmas lights event, where two sets of twins from Thatcham Tornadoes helped me to plunge the Broadway into a flood of light, breaking the plunger in the process.
Such enthusiasm.
And I think I might have said before, one of them, because they're only 7 or 8 years old, one of them said, before we plunge, she said, there are no wires on the box.
Santa's magic, Mr. Mayor.
So, speaking very quickly, I said, oh, it's all done by radio now, like your phone. He seemed satisfied. The annual Santa Fun Run went off splendidly on the 4th of December. Wasn't it a shame that my Melbourne robes prevented me from taking part in the run?
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to put you down for next year?
I was scared that might be the next step, but okay. We welcomed the French market on the 10th of December, and I attended several excellent carol concerts, including those by the Community Hospitals League of Friends, St Mary's Church Community, Sing Louder Choir, Thames Valley Police Thanksgiving service in, I think it was Christchurch Cathedral in Oxford, and Cold Ash Brass's Christmas concert. And of course, we held the annual Mayor's Carol service. And all these and more, I think, went very well. And thank you for all those who may have been in attendance, and one or two or many of them. There were at least certainly 2 poignant events I attended. The 12th of the 12th Remembrance Service at Greenham Control Tower. You can scroll up, you'll see that one there. Okay. For the, in particular, the collision and the loss of certainly one glider, a glider full of troops in the Second World War, American. I've now attended 134 events to date, and all of them have been hugely enjoyable. I said to Hina, it was lovely to see here tonight, I was hoping to do 150, and she said, how are you going to do that then? I said 3 a week. Well, here we are, Hina, under 9 months, I'm at 134. But some smart Alec told me that he, in his esteemed period of being mayor, did 202. Yes. Some way off the pace, but I'll do my best. Not a competition, really, is it? But I repeat how privileged I feel to be your mayor, with just over 13-14 weeks to go. My legacy project continues to make excellent progress. Some of you will have noticed the panels and scenes arriving at the back. They're gone now. They're gone now. You've been in there over the last 2-3 weeks. You've seen some of them. And I have a 45-26 now being framed, done, complete. I can see another 5 or 6 just about there, which would give me something like 12 to 13 outstanding. My progress chasing means I'm very confident of 10 of them. 3 of them, I keep being told, are coming along nicely, but I have my slight little suspicions, so I'm having to play progress project manager. But it's going to be splendid. I saw one today, which is a Lego made by the Pals children's group, and of the M1, which opened in 1958, so part of the motorway network, and it's rather splendid. So yeah, all to play for. And I draw your attention to the Mayor's Quiz on March the 3rd. The finest fish and chips in the whole of North East Thatcham is available. I've actually went and tried them myself in the last week because my local resident councillor has never had them from there. And they're splendid. I've arranged vegan and sausage for those who don't like fish, and gluten-free. So the food is all laid on within their remarkably low price of £12 per person, maximum 6 per table. Let's get as many into the Frank Hutchins Hall. I can promise you the fish and chips will be hot because it's only got to come 20 yards across from the fish and chips. So without further ado, thank you very much for that, and we press on. Deputy Mayor, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would have to say that so conscientious has the mayor been in fulfilling his role over the last quarter, that my report is a relatively short one. I have not been required to substitute on very many occasions, but those when I have been really excellent. On the 1st of December, I was delighted to attend the showcase of musical talent at the winter concert at the Kennett School. A very fine evening that was, and it just shows what amazing young people we have in our area and the skills that they display. I have supported the mayor and team, of course, during the whole of the Christmas lights weekend, and the Victorian market as well. And I have to say that my deputy mayoral garb did not prevent me from taking part in the Santa run. So I did reach the finishing line. Although that's a rather unfortunate juxtaposition of pictures, because I think I do look more like an elf in that picture than a Santa Claus. Yeah, back to the Kennett on the 16th of December for a really fun with Elf the musical, and very pleased to attend. I was too, and I joined the councillors and officers on the 19th for a well-deserved coffee and cake, and a big thank you to the whole team who've had a really excellent year, and I should say that thanks once again. And thank you to you, Mr. Mayor.
Great pleasure, thank you. Okay, perhaps more serious business. Number 6, the budget and the precept for 23-20. Will be introducing this. The chairman of FNGP, Councillor Mike Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't intend to go through in any detail unless it is required for me to do so. Obviously, the budget and the detail has gone to FNGP twice now, once in December and once in January. I will just say when setting the budget this year, we were looking at 3 key principles. First, that any rise in the precept should not be above the rate of inflation, as we have done in previous years. We've kept the rise to below the rate of inflation. That we would seek to maintain services, notably the safety of the playgrounds, where we have actually committed another £20,000 this year. The main element of that being for the skate park, plus the enhanced litter bin and litter bin emptying and litter picking, especially around the town centre, which we enhanced in the budget last year. That we've been maintaining this year as well to keep the town tidier. And the third one being to keep the enhanced events programme intact, including Family Fun Day, Fest Off and the Christmas lights, all of which were very well received by residents. So I would, Mr. Mayor, when you ask for a proposal, be seeking to propose the budget as outlined in the paperwork for 6A, including the precept therein.
Thank you very much. And just for the ones of doubt, it will be 6, resolution 1 and 2 on your papers. Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just rise to second that motion and reserve my right if I may.
Thank you very much. Questions and comments, please, to the budget itself. Councillor Ardegh-Walter.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll address a question to you, if I may, and I don't know who you may wish to direct it. We had a discussion several meetings ago around the Thatcham Library costs and contributions, which disappointingly were decided to have ceased for this year. And I see that there is nothing provision for the coming year. Given that, as we all are aware, work is ongoing, funded by the District Council, West Berkshire Council, to enhance the library, and indeed that we have as we were discussing at the recent master planning event, plans for not only the library but the whole estate, and keeping a vibrant library service, I'd hope and I believe is something we'd all want to do. I would just ask that was reconsidered, because in the context of this overall effort, maintaining that spend for a hugely popular service would be the right thing to do. So again, I would urge you and your colleagues in the administration to reconsider on that item.
And before you sit down, sir, is that the only question you have?
That's the only one I have.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to try and tease out the questions before I ask the people to answer. Are there any other questions? Budget itself. Councillor Jeremy Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, firstly, I'd like to start with congratulations to Councillor Cole.
This is a questions bit.
Oh, there's questions. Okay, no,
Cover the
thank you.
questions and then
I'll sit down again promptly.
thank you. I didn't make myself clear. So who would like to respond? A leader of council, Councillor Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I think it's quite ironic that we've got a West Berkshire councillor saying that you should maintain funding when you were one of the councillors that voted to pass the buck on to parish councillors at West Berkshire Council. So we are focused in this budget primarily about maintaining our statutory service provision, and that's what West Berkshire Council should be focusing on. But equally, we've been absolutely clear, we've been upfront, we haven't forecast it into the budget for this year because it isn't a statutory service, Councillor Ardegh-Walters. And if we were to put that into the budget, then we'd also be breaking our manifesto commitment of raising it above inflation. Again, a lesson we learned from the Conservative administration 4 years ago, when there was a random 10% rise on the precept, when I think inflation was running about 2%. So we're keen not to repeat the errors of the Conservatives' previous decisions.
Well said. Councillor Simon Pike.
Thank you. I would also like to draw the meeting's attention to the local plan for 2012, which I've been reading as a result of the revised local plan, which was committed to a new library for Thatcham 10 years ago. And so far we have haven't yet managed to get a disabled toilet. So I think in terms of delivery of commitments on the library, there's general lacking in West Berkshire Council. Thank you.
You wanted to come back, councillor?
Very brief, Chair, and I'm keen that, as I'm sure we all are, that we progress, but that's not really a budget discussion, Councillor Berg. I was asking, and I am still asking specifically around this withdrawal of £24,000 from the budget. Yes, of course, we can have an endless ping-ponging of your fault, my fault, and so forth, and I'm sure that conversation will happen. In a nicely spirited way, that conversation will come back when we talk about the strategy. But again, I'm purely talking about the budget here. And to your point, Councillor Dillon, again, I see lots of very, very worthwhile expenditure. This is not statutory. We're talking beyond statutory services. It's talking about priorities. And the people of Thatcham, I think, would expect this council to ensure good quality services. Anyway, I'll leave it there because clearly I'm outnumbered. Thank you.
Well, councillor Dillon would like to come back again, and I'm going to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's directed to me, Mr. Mayor. Again, in terms of the budgetary implication, Councillor Ardal Waters, it would put our precept over the rate of inflation, and we made a commitment. It would be about another 3%. So it would take the recommendation to over 11%. And we made a commitment to the residents of Thatcham before these funding cuts that we would deliver below inflation rises, and we're determined to keep to our promise. And I mean, if you want to talk about the current budget round, then that's the position that we're in. It is a statutory service. The West Berkshire Council are duty bound and were threat of legal action around their decision to reduce West Berkshire to one library. Look, you and I can talk about library provision for Thatcham and the wider community, but let's discuss that in West Berkshire Chamber where the responsibility lies, not here.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's been asked and answered, and probably councillor Ardal knows where the mood of the meeting is. I'm now going to ask comments and invite councillor Cottam to come back.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll repeat because it's well worth repeating. Yeah. I'd like to give my thanks to Councillor Cole and officers for going through in huge detail, spending many hours, if not days, and even weeks total up, because it has been a very arduous time to get this budget settled. Because as we said, we promised that we're going to keep it below inflation, and we are. I really warmly welcome that because that's really close to my heart, because people are finding that they are finding expenses in their shopping and in their lives, the cost of living going up. And we want to be very careful and try to make sure that we don't add to that burden any more than we have to. It's been a very good budget, because if you still look at the losses that we have in our halls, because they haven't got back to full participation within the community, I think it's done an excellent job, and I'd like to commend this budget to the council. Thank you.
Yeah. Got you as seconder, sir. Are there other contributions on the budget before I turn to the seconder for reserved his right? Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm proud to support the proposal that we accept this budget. It has been a challenging year, and I think there is thanks that needs to go. I think it's the 3 M's. I think it's to Mike, to Mel, and to Miriam for helping to run a council in a challenging period. Remember, when we set this budget, we were sat in a meeting very similar to this last year. It was before the invasion of Ukraine and before the mass inflation that we saw. So actually, we've been able to go into the new financial year with a below increase inflation because of the due diligence and the hard stewardship of the budget that we've delivered in this financial year. So on behalf of all the councillors, can I thank Mike as the lead finance member and Mel, the town clerk, and your officers there. So this is a proportionate budget. You know, again, we are confined by our promise to the residents of an inflation increase, and lots of the inflationary increases that have come in are completely outside of our control, whether they be energy costs or linked to increases in contracts, or even links to staff wages, which again we sit outside of the ability to agree that ourselves as a council and accept the national pay award. And rightly so, because it delivers us a professional officer base to be able to deliver our projects. So, a proportionate budget, Mr. Mayor, but one that still is ambitious. And we're running the town by limiting council tax rises and using reserves. We are being prudent and forward thinking. So what have we ended up with? As Councillor Cole said, we've got an improved general grounds maintenance contract. We've got more litter picking in the Broadway, in high areas around parks, in my own ward, in Lamb Close, for example. And we're seeing improvements to the area because of that direct investment made by this council. We've got funding towards Hennick, towards Kennet, and towards all our public open spaces. Again, enabling lots of community groups to be able to get out there, to keep fit and healthy, and that link to that well-being sort of sector is crucial to preventing further costs down the line, whether it be on the NHS service or any other. We've got the Christmas events, and we've got, as Councillor Collins said, the Christmas lights. We've got Fun Day, the festival, but we can also support the community in how they celebrate the upcoming coronation as well. And that all builds that community strength that we as a council have always had at the heart about being the people who facilitate community to come together. And it's these civic events that we really need to protect, because they're the key point throughout the calendar year that keeps bringing the town back together to share those experiences. And we've been innovative with how we've looked at how we run this council. So by working with our officers, we've looked at how we deliver the services, particularly our outward services on our public open spaces and our maintenance side. And we're actually now taking on a part-time member of staff that comes with a saving target linked to the maintenance spend. So again, we can see if our invest to save is working, and we'll review it in 12 months' time. And if it's successful, we'll extend it. If it's not, we'll be brave, we'll say we got it wrong, and we've got the ability to flex that offer up. And then the two last areas, Mr. Mayor, I want to just address is, first of all, our public halls. So a 5% rise on all hire cost, way below the rate of inflation. Again, because of, one, it's our residents having to spend their money to hire their own public halls. So we want to limit the cost to residents on a day-to-day basis and not bake in that inflation. And also because we know that the halls are an income generator for us. And so they need to be attractive to the community to be able to buy them. And that innovation, again, Mr. Mayor, it's not just about playing around with the figures. We've also looked now at online hall bookings where residents can access and book a hall 24 hours a day online, and then we follow the financial payments up inside office hours. Again, being more open to our residents, making our halls a more attractive facility to book, because you can go on, see the availability and select it there and then. And then the final bit, Mr. Mayor, and this is around partnership working. And this is real partnership work, and this isn't being told by a higher authority that you have to do something. This is working with the detached youth, working with Thatcham youth, long-term SLAs in place with clear deliverable benefits for the residents directly of Thatcham. And I'm proud that we still got that money locked in this budget. And then the final one, Mr. Mayor, just to talk on in terms of that partnership working, is we also still offer an excellent grant process. So there's over £17,000 put aside for local charity organisations to be able to bid to. That can be whether it's £200 for help to print in a programme for an event, or, you know, up to whatever, up to the 17,000 if they've got a big, you know, all singing, all dancing plan to come and speak to us with. And again, using that money to put it back out into the community is such a seed starter, and it helps to just take the burden off some of the financial pressures that they're finding, whether again that be increases in their costs because everything's going up. So, Mr. Mayor, I commend the budget. Happy to second it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well said, well said.
Before I put it to the vote, I too would like to thank all the staff involved, the councillors involved. A lot of work goes into a budget. It doesn't look a lot on this paperwork here, but by golly, there's an awful lot of detail behind it, down to the penny. So with that said, and the seconder having spoken, I'm going to put the proposal that we accept the two resolutions on your paperwork to adopt the budget as recommended by the Finance and General Purposes Committee, and to reallocate the reserves as recommended in two above. I'm going to take them on block, the two together. All those in favour, please show. All those against? Thank you, that's 2 abstentions I noticed now. Abstentions. Thank you very much. Okay, approval and adoption of committee minutes. I'll take these one at a time. 7A, Recreation and Amenities Committee minutes dated 19th of December 2022. Who is going to propose the adoption of those?
Yes, I'd like to propose the adoption of the Recreation and Amenities Committee minutes for the 19th of December.
Find a seconder. Councillor Cotton, thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Move on to 2 meetings of Finance and General Purposes Committee. Who will introduce those?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to propose for adoption, although I don't in the paperwork I had, but it may well be in the paperwork up there, have the minutes of the 23rd of January, but it may well be I've just not picked up the most up-to-date paperwork. I would, however, like to propose for adoption the minutes of the 2 meetings.
Opposed, seconded.
With the 23rd in my hand, I'm happy to second it.
Thank you very much. So I'm taking those as a en bloc proposal for the 2. I would propose a seconder. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. I've got 2 Planning and Highway Committee meetings. Chairman of Planning and Highways, please.
Chairman, I'd like to propose that we adopt the minutes of the meetings of Planning and Highways Committee of the 13th of December last year and the 10th of January this year.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor. I have a seconder in Councillor Woodhams. All those in favour, please show. That's taken en bloc. And then I have a Town Centre Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to propose the adoption of the minutes of the Town Centre Committee held on the 16th of January.
And I'd be happy to second it.
Seconder. All those in favour? Thank you very much. I'd like to personally propose the Events Committee minutes dated the 5th of December 2022. Does that find a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much indeed. Short sweet item. Number 8, Royal Mail Postal Delivery Service across Thatcham, I believe. Councillor Owen Jeffrey may introduce this. And I may even, from the chair, give you something of my experience of this as a householder. Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to raise the issue of Royal Mail deliveries and their obligation to provide a 6-day-a-week letter delivery service across the nation. Weather, industrial action, and the busy time around Christmas warrant some leniency towards Royal Mail. However, in every week commencing Monday the 16th and running through to Saturday the 22nd of January, I personally at my house went for 6 consecutive delivery days, Monday to Saturday, with no post at all. Time sensitive post, private mail, bank statements, credit card bills, absolutely nothing arrived. I sent a letter to the editor of the Newbury Weekly News, who was kind enough to publish it. I was fairly amazed by the result. I had people walking up to me in the street in Thatcham saying, thank you, saying, this has been my etc., etc. There were people who had been receiving in the 3rd week of January Christmas cards which were posted before Christmas. So that certainly beats anything that I've managed. It's not impugning our individual posters, because I believe they are very committed to running the service and running it properly. It took my breath away when I received a message directly from a postal worker congratulating me on raising the issue and saying how disappointed that person was, and I'm certainly not going to identify them, but how absolutely disappointed they were with the way that the management of Royal Mail Consignia seemed to be deliberately preventing the letter post from getting through. And the implication that I got was that in Thatcham, it's particularly bad for some reason. The Thatcham delivery side is even worse than many other parts of the country. Mr. Mayor, what I would like to request of Council is that we agree to sent a letter to Royal Mail explaining what is happening and requesting that with immediate effect, Royal Mail Consignia decide to reinstate a proper letter post in a truly typical way that we've been used to in this country, I suppose, about 170 years. I don't think that the commitment that I think it's 95% of first-class mail is committed to be delivered on the day following the posting, other than Sundays and bank holidays. And what we're getting at the moment is a caricature of a letter posted service. I won't regale council with my own particular stories of post that's been delayed, because I know it will be shared by every other member of council and every member of the public who's watching tonight or hears about this in due course. Frankly, everybody knows that it is a similar story for all of us, but it's a disgraceful story. So I'm not really wanting to go into the world of attributing blame. I just want Royal Mail Consignia to resume their obligation, their legal obligation, to provide a viable, reliable postal service for the town of Thatcham. And I sincerely hope that all members of the council are doing just that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a comment or two, and I've got Councillor Cottam and Councillor Lillycrop, who I'm going to mark up, but I wouldn't mind your indulgence just to give a little bit of experience myself. Around about the 7th of January, we started to receive Christmas cards posted on the 8th of December, the 12th of December, the 14th of December, all arriving 2 or 3 weeks after Christmas. I don't know if RG19, which is the postcode I'm in, is particularly severe, but even now we're lucky to get one postal drop a week. Now, I don't know what the trading standards are that if you buy a first-class stamp and pay the money for a first-class stamp, what your service level agreement is with your postal service. If they say that 95% of the post will get through, that is not our experience at all, and they're not failing, it seems, in their service level agreement. What seems to surprise me is there's no PR from the Royal Mail telling the population what is going on, what they're doing to resolve it, how they, perhaps are they putting extra resource in, working around the clock. They seem to be providing a very poor service and not seeking to win a PR battle, if you like, and explain to the public what's happened and how it will be remedied. So when you say, Councillor Jeffrey, send a letter and your shoulders sloped a little bit, I think the letter is flagging up all of the concerns of the residents of Thatcham, as they should expect their town council to do on their behalf. So I think I thank you for bringing it here, and I think a letter must emerge to speak on behalf of people in Thatcham. And you might laugh, but on one of the mayoral occasions, mayoral events, I drove to Oxford and managed to find myself straying into a bus lane. The resultant fine, which I would have had 28 days to get it at half price, £35 instead of £70, I ended up having 5 days to pay it, not 28, when the letter landed in my letterbox. I won't be claiming the fine off the council before any of you wonder if I. So that's, but think about people with hospital appointments. Think about much more critical things than the 35 quid I might have had to pay extra. Councillor Jeremy Cottam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I have to say it did take a spark off the Christmas. I mean, it was mid-January before before the Christmas cards are around. It's a little bit of a light touch there, but it is, and a lot of people, I'm sure, were disappointed. And I'm sure that if the Royal Mail sent us a solution to it, maybe they put it in the post, and hence they didn't arrive. So basically, I think that the Royal Mail should offer the people of Thatcham an apology at the very minimum, right? Not getting into money, it's so complicated, but at the very least, the divisional manager of the area should be coming back to the people of Thatcham and apologising to them, not only for the Christmas cards, but also all of the other important mail which we entrust them. We trust to this organisation. And I think they've not broken it, but they've severely bent that trust of the public in the Royal Mail. And they should come back to us and apologise and say what they're doing to make sure it never happens again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mark Lillicott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with other councillors. My experience has been very much the same. We, I believe, had 2 deliveries during the whole of the month of December and 2 since Christmas. They do tend to be very large deliveries for obvious reasons. And judging by the dates, they are being now sorted in chronological order, and they seem to be getting a little bit closer in terms of date. I think my main concern is it is a problem that's very specific to Thatcham. It's received reporting on local television, but even in that report, there didn't seem to be much explanation of exactly what was going on. And my concern, I think, with something that is quite so local, when there are widespread national issues, such as industrial action or whatever, everybody's involved and everybody understands the issues. I believe that outside of Thatcham, people are rather unaware of the fact that we're suffering severe issues within the town and won't be making allowances for it. As Mr. Mayor was saying, hospital appointments, one of my neighbours, I believe, missed 3 hospital letters during this time. And, you know, we all know that it's coming up to the time when HMRC likes to flex its muscles. And I'm sure a lot of people have been affected by that as well. So like other councillors, I think we really do need an explanation from Royal Mail.
That's the Harvey's answer.
Thank you very much. Councillor Adam Walter, then I've got Councillor Pike and Councillor Richard Crumley.
Thank you, Mayor, and likewise, I agree with everything that's been said so far. Councillor Dreffy, thank you very much for highlighting this. I am actually rather envious of you having received mail within 6 days. You clearly are a very popular gentleman. We have gone far longer than that without post. Slightly more seriously, though, anecdotally, I've heard that the specific issues here are to do with manning and people not being willing to work and the lack of the Royal Mail's effective response to that. I would urge this council that, as well as writing a mail, I believe that the effective sanction against an organisation such that is publicity. Yes, there was a piece on Meridian, but anything we and others in the town can do to publicise this, that will, I think, shame them. That is the effective way to do it. So I would urge, if whatever opportunities we have to publicise and generate awareness, that's taken. Our MP Laura Farris is meeting them, and if there anything meaningful comes from that meeting, I will share it. And I know that at West Berkshire Council, the electoral officers are understandably very concerned about this, bearing in mind postal votes in the forthcoming elections. So it is taken seriously, but I think publicity, harsh publicity on them is the most effective sanction. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Simon Clark.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to say that I would willingly forego the pizza delivery leaflets in order to get my Christmas.
Councillor Richard Crumley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I simply echo my experience of that coincide with all the others who have spoken. It's quite jarring at Thatcham North to see the postal vans and going backwards and forwards and not stopping at our house as they used to in times gone by. Yes, it's a good idea for some publicity to be brought home, and I would have thought that perhaps if we can get a horse from somewhere, we can revive trying to deliver this letter to the
Express.
to Thatcham, the opponent, but thank you, the pony say that this is the way we're going to deliver the our letter of complaint and sarcasm and what have you. However we deliver it, you can't of course put it in the post. It's going by hand or by email, but I think that would be a good way forward.
It's been all downhill since Postman Pat retired, hasn't it? I'm going to bring the leader in who perhaps point the way ahead in terms of a letter. I think we'd have to delegate the letter to be drafted and signed off by the leader and Councillor Jeffrey, I would have thought. But for you to consider, sir, I'll invite you to speak now. I've got you, Councillor Boyd.
Actually, I wasn't going to speak, Mr. Mayor, but it was a comment from Councillor Ardar Waters, which is what I think we could do. So if it's down to manpower, they need to open up and be more solution focused and think about collections. Because what I'm seeing from residents griping about is that they can't even get down there to collect it themselves either. So not only is it not being delivered, it's actually getting to the parish boundary. But we're being told that you can't go down there and it's the same restricted opening hours at the collection centre that it's always been down there. You know, open it up and people will probably go down there and pick their mail themselves, Mr. Mayor. So I think they said to that. Obviously the flyers make the mail a lot of money, unfortunately, which is why they keep making sure they deliver those. And I don't think the situation has been quite as bad at the Whiteman's estate, would just be my observation. But I did go to school with my postman. So.
John Boyd.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with everybody. Perhaps you didn't get as many Christmas cards this year. You might not be as popular as you think you are. But I think also if it's a managerial problem, it needs to be addressed. But unfortunately, for a lot of people on the street, they look at the postman striking and they put the blame down to them. And I think, you know, we should also acknowledge that they have a right to strike for the moment. And if we can move forward, but supporting the postman at the same time, because I think they're going to get the short end of the stick. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this problem seems to be peculiar to Thatcham in this area. And I don't think you could lay that blame at the door of a number of days of strikes. They went on strike for weeks on end. So I wouldn't want that to happen either. So when I asked Councillor Jeffrey to summarise this debate, propose please that a letter be sent. I think that letter is delegated to yourself and the leader if the council is in agreement. I think it's got to lament the situation, to describe the situation, to some examples, but also for an explanation to be provided that explains why it's happened and what they have done to remediate it. Hang on, Councillor Pike. And that probably is best hand delivered. Councillor Pike.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to propose that in addition, that letter is copied to the relevant officer in Ofcom, which is the regulator of the postal service.
Yeah. Well, that's if Councillor Jeffrey is in favour of that. I don't see why not. He'll take that on board. I get a nod from the leader. Over to you, I think, to summarise this debate, sir.
Well, firstly, thank you very much indeed, fellow councillors. It's very nice to ever have anything where we seem to all be on the same page at the same time. I think that certainly the sending of the letter is. I do like Councillor Crowley's suggestion that we send it by Pony Express. I would admit I'm no good at horse riding, so don't have some sort of duck that one. But I think we need to certainly send the letter by post and to hand deliver it as well. And I think that the suggestion that Councillor Pike has just made that we compliment to Ofcom, I think is entirely sensible and rational. And I'm glad that we've teased out, because I think it is indeed the truth that Thatcham, for some reason, has really been targeted for a particularly poor postal experience to an extent that does not apply in most other parts of the country. And I really don't see how that can be the case, because if it were simply that we didn't have enough postal workers in Thatcham, the Royal Mail is certainly capable of transferring people from Newbury or transferring people from Swindon on an appropriate basis. So I don't think that we should be having to carry whatever the problems of Royal Mail may be on this occasion. I would like to formally propose that we do indeed create a letter. Very happy that it should be the leader and myself to actually put the words together and then to get it to Royal Mail by post and by hand.
Does that find a seconder?
Yeah, I second that.
Thank you. The letter will obviously go through Madam Clerk or, final, I say, to be involved in it. I have a proposer and seconder. I've had a good debate and we are, I mean, there's been a little bit of jockeying in this, but it's a serious thing and it's inappropriate behaviour. A few days here and there, the odd missed delivery, but this has just gone beyond anything that is reasonable. So all those in favour, members. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next one is the Community Awards panel. And it is simply to appoint members that join the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. How many members are we looking at, Madam Clerk? Normally 5, so we're looking for 3 members. It'd probably only be 1 meeting, will it, Madam Clerk? After the nominations close on the 10th of March. And don't forget to look for people who are worthy of this award to be nominated by the 10th of March. Do I have 3 volunteers? 1 volunteer, any advance on 1? Councillor Mike Cole, Councillor Jeremy Cotton, Councillor John Boyd. Happy with that?
Yeah, happy with that, yeah.
Okay, John Boyd just got, okay, I have 3 wise men.
Let's not go too far. Maybe 1.
Councillor, all done. Thank you very much indeed.
As well.
Item 10, members, we've been asked if we wish to respond to the consultation of the West Berkshire Council draft council strategy, which is out for consultation now. It's open until Sunday, the 26th of February. But since we're meeting tonight, it's a good time to consider it. You have it in your paperwork. There is a draft response in your paperwork as well, which Councillor Pike, I think, will introduce. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So, of course, the reason why the response was not circulated with the agenda was that the strategy was circulated with the agenda and it took some time to write. Obviously, I think the total consultation period is 6 weeks. Which it's fortuitous that we have a council meeting within that period because it is that is not always sufficient to enable us to give a formal response. Brian Quinn of Penny Post has written an excellent critique of the strategy document, and he's chosen better words than I could, so I'll just read a couple of sentences out from that. The term strategy is a misnomer, as the document is mainly a summary of worthy aspirations, statutory responsibilities and statements of the obvious. Parts are so vague and fluffy as to make comment or criticism almost beyond the point. One might as well use a chainsaw to cut up. So those aren't quite the words that I would use in a response from the town council. So I'll go through the main points that I'm highlighting. So it has the document has 44 outcomes it describes. And all of them pretty much are things that you couldn't disagree with, were the outcomes. There's one that I particularly highlight that we ought to support, which is more clearer, closer and more effective working with our communities and partner organisations, including town and parish council. But of course, the strategy is more than just a list of outcomes. And I think it's important to highlight that because some of those are so general that almost any improvement could be regarded as a success. The phrase that's generally used is SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So I address that. Also point out there's one particular objective which cannot be met within 2023 to 2027, which is carbon neutrality achieved by West Berkshire Council by 2030. So that does require an intermediate objective within 2027 before to be meaningful. All of those, I think all but a handful of those 44 outcomes are related to the revenue-based activities of the council. But actually the strategic issues generally are related to capital. And so from the perspective of Thatcham, I think the capital item that is most on our minds is the regeneration of the town, and particularly the town centre, which is required before the development of development of further housing around Thatcham is likely to occur in the new plan period, which conveniently is 2027. So I propose that that specific item should be added as an outcome in this strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dillon.
Yeah, thank you. So I think Councillor Pike has outlined there a potential submission. I think what I would like to do is I don't think I heard you formally move that.
Not yet.
No, so I would formally, in terms of the question is, council is asked if it wishes to respond to the consultation, Mr. Mayor. So I would propose that we do, and that we use the text that was circulated to members prior to the meeting and has been displayed on the screen as our response.
Okay, so we are actually proposing this text be adopted.
Yeah.
To be our response to this consultation. Do I have other comments from other members?
Can I comment on the consultation in general? Thank you. So the consultation invites residents to respond online, and there's a multiple choice question as usual, where they group all of the 44 into 5 categories and ask you, do you anything between strongly agree and strongly disagree with those points? And I can't see that will get much useful information for most residents. So of course, we are expecting to write to respond in the form that enables us to convey meaningful information and not through the medium of that online.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand that, Leader.
Sorry, thank you. It was around how you score the questions, and then what do you do with that data once you've got it, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm not planning on speaking on it long. I just want to make the point. I think there's a potential conflict of interest being an exec member of the council when Lynn signed it off, I must admit. But that's down to individual members to determine their conflicts, not what I would say is, regardless of the election results in May, I do think this is the wrong time to do the strategy, because there could be a change of administration in May, and then this council will be asked again to come back and comment on a refresh strategy. So I think West Berkshire Council just need to take it back into their civic, or not their civic calendar, their business calendar, and make it so that actually you go out to consult after the election, once you know you've got a mandate, because this is due to be adopted by full council in the first council meeting after the election. And these priorities, although went out to consultation, these priorities have been picked by a Conservative administration. And so just say it on the timing, if it was a Lib Dem administration bringing a strategy out now, I'd have exactly the same criticism. And actually the town council strategy, you'll know, runs to council years. So we will update in March how we've progressed on our current 4-year strategy. And then we will leave it for the next administration in May to devise their next one. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Cotton.
Yes, I think this is a fantastic document, and I ask if we approve this, which I expect we do, that we actually have this on our Facebook page, on our website, so that we can publicise it, because it's a hugely complex matter, which I think almost overwhelms many of the public. I would implore that the press here do publicise and really ask people to have a look and ask questions and to actually reply, because this is going to be them for the next 30 years, and it's it's going to have a very high impact on our community.
So it's a point of information for you, Chair. I think so. This is the council strategy rather than the council, than the local plan.
Yeah, our response to it.
Yeah, 4-year strategy.
And for the avoidance of doubt, you think this is an excellent document, not necessarily this one?
Yes.
Okay, we have a proposal to adopt this as our response to this consultation. Councillor Ardegord.
Oh, thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate it. And thank you for reminding me, Councillor. Of course, I may be complicated if you'd allow me to speak, and you can put those in space. So, firstly, Councillor Pike, thank you, and could quibble with some of your tone of damning with faint praise and so forth, but in the same way that you said that you do not disagree with any of the objections of the strategy, likewise, I do not disagree with anything said here. Indeed, I would support this. I do support this. It's a very good thing for us as the town council to remind West Berkshire of, as is already known, the importance of the town centre regeneration and things specific to us and so forth. Coming back to the strategy itself, this is has been the subject of many fairly identical seeming tussles at the district council whenever a strategy has come out, and certainly the one which I sponsored on the environment strategy involved a lot of critique of oh yes, great high level details there. We want detail, we want actions, we want and as you said, Councillor Pike, sort of specificity and timeless and so forth. My response to there, and even more so to this, is that were every bit of a local authority, this local authority's strategy to be assembled all together, it would grow to be larger than the local plan, which, as many of you will know, is apparently 30 reams of paper tall. It has to be broken down. And while, yes, I accept that it is not a full strategy here in these few pages, you have to break these things down in terms of time, in terms of officer effort, and allowing flexibility, because to lock in every single detail for the next 4 years would be unhelpful to all, and it would be impractical. So again, I thank you for the letter. I as a receiving party in my conflicted way would be very happy to see this. I do support, again, the Thatcham centric parts, but again, I do remind this council that the West Berkshire document here is necessarily a very, very high level directional objective setting, and absolutely in time subsidiary strategies will come out which will gradually flesh out parts of this, and hence things move forward. Thank you.
And I've heard you say that many times in another place at Market Street, and I'm very aware of my role in this chamber, but I do think any strategy should have at least some objectives that are measurable, to give a flavour of what, an example of what that strategy is trying to do. I agree with you, you can't put every single KPI in the overarching strategy, but you can put some very high level ones that say, we're here now and we aim to get there. And I've not seen any of those in any strategy because of this narrative that you come out with tonight, that you can't put them in there. You can put some to lead the way, the high level stuff. However, I've said it a lot of times, you've heard me at Market Street, and I won't labour the point here, but I do think it's something you might want to think about. Getting back to matters here then, this is up for adoption, which the clerk will then just check our wording and put onto letterhead and find a postman that's prepared to deliver it.
We dropped off and we handed it.
All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, reports from the town councils of West Berkshire District Council and Council Secretary. None held in the period, Madam Clerk? None held in the period. So we just note, I think, here that Councillors Lourdes Cotterman, Paul Field, on the 4th of February will be in the Broadway at 10 AM. Councillor Richard Cromwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I quite like attending surgeries if there's any vacancy coming up, because for any reason I'm having to put my name forward for the upcoming surgery.
Even the cold ones, Richard.
Yes, even the cold ones.
The mayor's pen hasn't stopped moving since you started speaking.
Councillor Keith Williams.
Mr. Mayor, may I add to this? As you may know, councillors, I've attended a number of surgeries, as we all have, and there are a number of months between those surgeries. And it's quite shocking. The same issues, reoccurring issues, are brought to us. White lining and all its various aspects, waiting for months and months.
There's a sign hanging off a post for months as you come along the A4 from Newbury towards Thatcham, towards the garden centre around it. It's hanging off. For goodness sake, it looks bad on West Berkshire Council Highways Department that nobody's seeing this sign hanging off. There's 2 troughs deep in the road surface as you exit the garden centre roundabout onto Tullway, endangering the suspension of vehicles. I drive there 4 times a day. The aspect of the garden centre roundabout itself means that the shrubs are so high that the people, and we're getting more people, as we all know, using motability scooters, trying to get round that roundabout, can't see the cars coming. The cars can't see pedestrians. I think we ought to have tulips or flower beds rather than cultivating these enormously tall shrubs where no one can see anybody. And also Wybrow Court. I remember an elderly gentleman say, I can't push my wife in the pushchair on the pavement passing Wybrow Court because the pavement, it goes up one side, down one side, it's got surface water gutters, it's got drainage, it's got everything that's getting in the way. For goodness sake, West Berkshire Council Highways Department, please wake up, please come out to Thatcham, have a look at the issues which have been repeated on a regular basis, regularly, sadly, and quite shockingly at these surgeries. It's very embarrassing, Mr. Mayor. I hope they will wake up, come out and do something urgently. We know that a lady tripped over the pavement and the drainage at Wybrow Court and broke her arm. And there are all sorts of issues going on. The highways need to come out, have a look what's going on and make the place safer for both pedestrians and drivers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before I bring Councillor Dillon in, I'll just ask Councillor Pike. At Planning and Highways, do you have a highways issues list that you could perhaps capture some of these and therefore monitor them being done? We write to highways, but I don't think we've got a committee vehicle here that does any of this monitoring. I may be wrong. I won't ask you to come back now. I'll take the leader of council, Councillor Leader.
But I mean, on the plan agenda, there is highways issues that you can raise, and then you've got a minuted resolution, so you can follow your minuted resolution. And you have matters arising on your agenda as well, so you could go back to it that way. I think the mechanism exists. All I want to say is, Councillor Williams, I absolutely agree with you on what you've just said, and the focus that we need on the public realm. And also, lots of the issues that get raised are the responsibility of West Berkshire Council. I just note that on the 4th of February, and I'm not volunteering because I'm on my way to Old Trafford, that you've got 2 town councillors down to attend, not anyone who's dual hat. So just bearing in mind what Councillor Woodham's saying there, I wonder if there's a dual hatter who might be able to attend with them.
Yes.
Or the husband of one of those.
But quite, yes, yeah.
I'll leave that there for members to know about. And thank you for reminding us that highways issues are on the P&H agenda. And you're quite right, we could resolve, and then matters arising, you can follow it up. I think only by that mechanism of bringing something that comes in from a surgery, goes to planning the highways through the clerk. Yes, we'll write to West Berkshire, but we'll always also bring it into planning the highways, who will then monitor it. Some members may recall, some of the older members here, that we used to have things called the area forums.
Yeah.
And at the area forums, we would take these sort of notes. We would have officers from West Berkshire there. And then at the next area forum, we would go through them line by line and said, have that been resolved? And the officers got into a bit of discipline to know, I better get that resolved before I go back to the next meeting. So, you know, can we bring something like that? And I'll leave that to the chair and the P&H to think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm going to move on to 11B, report from the Berkshire District Councillors. Councillor Ardegwine.
Thank you, Matt. And conveniently, actually, Councillor Woodham, thank you for your impassioned statement about roads, because I was quite incidentally going to update council on the updated water problem service, which is now on the West Berkshire website. And I would fully agree with probably any members here who would comment perhaps that there is room for improvement in the West Berkshire website. It is improving. I have to say rapidly that there's been a lot of work going into the design, clean up the content and so forth. And in particular, again, the report a problem page, you just Google report a problem, leads you through a nice simple tick box, what sort of problem it is, invites you to take a picture, for example, of a pothole, and then you will get an update from ourselves directly through to Volker Highways, our contractor, on progress when it happens, and a finally finished article. So as well as our council reporting, I would urge members here, if you have a problem in your wards, not just on roads, but on hedges and all sorts of other issues, please do use that tool because it's a really efficient and effective way of getting traction. And so far, of course, it's a constant battle. It's pushing a stone uphill. But so far, I'd say responsiveness to those sort of issues is respectable. There will always be potholes in roads, particularly this time of year when there's a mixture of water and ice and everything, as many of us know. So I'm afraid it's a fact we have to live with. The thing is to keep on top of the problems. And I hope and believe that is exactly what's happening. So again, report a problem is a great tool for reporting problems. I don't wish to say anything at this stage on my portfolio of waste or recycling. Things progress, but I'll update members as and when something happens. Thank you.
Okay, on the report a problem, thank you for that update. We're not all web savvy or app savvy. We know you are. Are there any flyers, old-fashioned paper flyers, like this one here, that we could give out at a surgery to say, go and report a problem, here's how you do it? Because we're not all, you know, straight into our phone, tapping away a problem. We really aren't.
Understood, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not aware of a leaflet, but it's a good idea to have one. Let's collectively think about it. I'll certainly think about it, and it shouldn't be hard to produce something. And it may even be there somewhere, but no, thank you. That's a good comment.
Very Cotton.
Thank you, Chairman. On the North Ward, I mean, you've got the good, the bad, and the very annoying. The good news is actually a much cherished dream of this council to have Lawrence's Lane turned into a footpath cycleway, getting very, very close now. Right? I'm glad to see that the planning committee, I believe, spent our enthusiastic support to the district council to get that going forward. The bad news is, well, the travellers encampment on Lawrence's Lane. Well, the good news is that at High Court. The bad news there is it's taking forever to resolve, but that's our legal system, and I don't pretend to understand. They just seem to be accepting any niggles and delaying the whole process. And the very, very annoying, which just mentioned waste. It's not annoying because, for me, because members of public come to me about dog waste. Okay, I think the town council does a wonderful job. I believe there's even a QR code on there, and I haven't had any of those reported to me. But again, and again, we are not having dog bins emptied. I can show you Thatcham Park School. You stand there. Every now and again, I have a purge, and it goes, 3 or 4 weeks. I go complain, and I complain, and I complain to the officer on the website, because I can do it blindfold now. So it's and it's happened, and then it seems to get better, and it seems to run smoothly for another month or two, and now again, they're full. I mean, not only are they're more than full, they're overflowing. I think maybe we should suggest, to make some people, please, if it's full, take it home. That's that's admission of a little bit of failure, or if the volume is such, maybe get a bigger bin. Because I literally, as I walk up and down one of my paths, and people know my councillor and hoik me and say, "What's happening here?" I would plead with the executive member here that we look at this, because this is about the last couple of years. It's about half a dozen times there's cycles like this and this and this. So really, we need, in terms of the district council, we need to do better.
Thank you, Chairman.
Another impassioned speech from that end of,
Believe it on that subject, but
Councillor Simon Pike.
I was just going to make a comment back to Councillor Addo-Walder. I look forward to the time when the report a problem page can be renamed the resolve a problem page.
Yes.
Councillor Leedon.
So it's on a, so as the district member, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, I was going to talk about Lawrence State, I won't, but the one thing my board colleague from West Berkshire didn't mention, just for anybody listening from home, is the battle that we have on with regards to the local plan. And that, you know, we're in a consultation window where residents of Thatcham need to look at that local plan and realise that it says at least 1,500 homes or approximately 1,500 homes, but that's only within this plan period. There is no restriction on the amount of houses that site could take in perpetuity. And actually within this plan period, because of the decision to bring the top number down, they've increased the build out rate, Mr. Mayor. So actually we're going to get more houses quicker than we would have done when they were trying to sign us up for 2,500. But they still are signing us up for 2,500 homes. That's the trick. Because that happens in the next local plan, once establishments already been established, once the road networks are connected from the A4 and tollway into the fields, you will see that backfilling continuing to go on. So I'll do the impassioned plea from this end of the table, Mr. Mayor. I just plead with residents to get in touch. Through our chairman of planning and highways, we will be producing a detailed, excellent report. As you will see in your agenda regarding an extraordinary meeting coming up, that is before the close of public consultation. So residents will be able to dissect our executive summary at least, and then maybe put their own remarks in, Mr. Mayor. But this is the big issue facing the town for the next 30 years. This is the window of opportunity to try to do something about it, Mr. Mayor.
And I think I'm right in saying that the town envelope will be pushed out so that the 2,500 houses even
Boundary change.
parish boundary is pushed out so that actually the infilling is able to be done without further adaptation. Look, it's a big live issue. Thank you for mentioning it, Leader. The consultation is open now and will go on until the 3rd of March. Thank you. Councillor Owen Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got two items to mention. One is that today I attended the first meeting of a special West Berkshire Council task group, which is tasked with identifying what are the things that we can do, should do, need to do to liaise with builders, but from a health perspective. How do we actually integrate the requirements of the health interests of the community with the fact that developments come through? Now, it's what they call a sort of task and finish group. So the idea is it's all going to have been completed before we get to the elections, just to actually have some information on the ground as to what can be done, what are the things we need to be looking out for. So that's the first comment. The second one is I also have the privilege of being the West Berkshire Council representative on Berkshire Maestros. Now, some of us will remember all that way back when the school music service was effectively destroyed about 20 years ago, and the Berkshire Maestros was set up to provide musical training for youngsters in West Berkshire schools. And in fact, I think it's actually beyond them. I think it's beyond West Berkshire. It's the other. Sorry, it's the whole the old Berkshire, isn't it? That's right. It goes right back to when it was still the Berkshire County Council. Anyway, so I have the privilege of serving on a meeting to one meeting, and I'm pleased to say that in a couple of weeks' time, I shall be going to a Berkshire Maestros concert down in Basingstoke. Thank you.
You have a bit of form on this, don't you? I seem to remember you were one of the Watermill Theatre appointees as well. Good going, Councillor Jeffrey, good going. Thank you for that. I think we're done on West Berkshire Council reports, and we're on to reports of outside bodies, Thatcham Welfare and Support Society, Councillor Lourdes Cottam and Councillor Jennifer Walker.
Chairman, no report as yet. I don't think they met during the interim.
You don't believe
Convening.
in the interim. Thank you very much. Thatcham Relief in Need Charity and Thatcham Parochial Charities.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and nothing really to report on the parochial charities, the almshouses. As to relief in need, we continue to give modest grants to people for absolute essentials such as carpets, curtains, and furniture or beds for kids. Largely, regrettably, for people who fall through every other safety net that we have in a so-called civilized country.
Yeah, just a question, if I may, and Councillor Cole might need to come back outside the meeting. Just obviously with the almshouses, they're old buildings. And so in terms of being energy efficient, well insulated, are we collecting the rainwater? I just wonder how green is the charity being about running the actual asset?
As much as we can be within the constraints of the building. Some of the almshouses are actually new builds down by the old glebe land, down on during Green Lane and Churchgate. The other building, as Councillor Dillon says, 1485, I think it was originally created. There is a rolling programme that we have, and there is a quinquennial, once every 5 years, detailed inspection that is done of every property, and fire safety is probably the major aspect that we have to take account of, but certainly energy efficiency comes within that. But as far as I can recall, we haven't got any solar panels on the roof, I have to confess.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that brings me to item 12, the last item that is to note an extraordinary meeting. The full council is scheduled for the 28th of February 2020, 7 p.m. To consider our response to the local plan regulation 19 consultation. Councillor Piley.
I think I'd just like to inform the meeting, firstly, that I'm taking the lead and wading my way through approaching 10,000 pages of documentation, with the longest document being 3,314 pages long. Fortunately, I don't need to read all of it, and I can do searching. But the main point I was going to make is that there's a meeting of Planning and Highways on the 21st, which is just before the agenda will need to be sent out for the extraordinary meeting. So it's my intention to bring a draft document to that meeting so that we'll have some of the detailed discussion and therefore have a document which is already somewhat mature for your extraordinary meeting. Then it'll then, and that might as my end, that the document will go out with the agenda, at least in a stable form, so that the members have the time to read it, because it will not be a short document. The response will not be a short document either. Partly because of the format we need to do, but partly because of the number of points that I think we'll need to make. Thank you.
I'm grateful to that. And that document will be informing, or will it be a proposed document in the way you put this one up this evening?
It will need to be a proposed response because of the length of it and the number of points that we need to make. And thirdly, because the consultation is effectively on legal and content matters and not opinions, and therefore it all needs to be cross-referenced to the source documents. Thank you.
Good. That clarification is helpful. Members, I think we're done at 8:20. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well done.